Our today's discussion is about the popularity of Scrum. Why Scrum is the most popular among the agile frameworks. So, before getting into this discussion, let us take a look at the three models we have. That is the predictive or the traditional or the waterfall. It's all same. Predictive or traditional or waterfall, we are referring to the same thing. And then we have the agile and adaptive stuff, and we have the hybrid models. Predictive means, okay, or waterfall means we have stages like requirements, high level design, detailed design, construction, testing, handover. So these phases are demarcated very, very clearly. And at the end of each phase, there is a formal handover and takeover to the subsequent phases. And then we have agile and adaptive. So all the agile and adaptive models are iterative and incremental in nature, which we have already discussed in the previous sessions, but maybe we'll just touch upon that in the subsequent slides. And then we have the hybrid model where uh, we combine the best practices of predictive and the agile, and we apply that in projects. We call it as hybrid models. Now, here is a typical waterfall model. So, as discussed before, we have the requirements gathering is a phase here, and after that, we get into the system design. Then we move on to implementation slash coding. Then we get into testing, then development, and then maintenance. So this looks like a waterfall. At the end of each phase, the project moves on to the subsequent phases. This is also known as traditional project management or predictive project management. So we plan things end to end here. So if everything is crystal clear, we can go with this model. If everything is crystal clear, we can go with this particular model. The scope is very clear, and changes if it is very difficult to make. Uh, then on the technology is very familiar, then we can always go with waterfall model. Typically these days, construction projects falls waterfall. Then we have agile models where we have the product backlog, which is the master list of features. And then we get into a planning meeting. There we have the sprint backlog, which is a subset of the product backlog, which the team will construct during that particular sprint. And every day we have a daily stand-up meeting, and at the end of the sprint, an increment of the product gets delivered, and you get into a sprint retrospective or iteration retrospective meeting, and the project progresses in a series of iterations. That is a agile model or adaptive model. These are good when the requirements are continuously evolving and the technology is also pretty new to the team. Then we have hybrid models where we combine or we tailor together the best practices of both waterfall and the agile for the benefit of the project. We call it as the hybrid model. And here what I've shown is, okay, now the project is predominantly waterfall. So within that requirements and design phases, we are going with agile because requirements are evolving continuously and the design also evolves. So we iterate there. So we go with agile for requirements and design. This is just a strategy. This is not a rule. So in this particular project, for this particular project, we are for requirements and design, we are following agile, and the rest of the phases still it is waterfall. That is one way of tailoring hybrid. There are other variants as well, which we'll discuss in the subsequent videos. So far, what we discussed is we discussed about the three major frameworks, like the waterfall or the predictive, that model, or the traditional model. Waterfall, predictive, or the traditional, it's all same. And we also discussed about agile or adaptive, and then we discussed about the hybrid stuff. And then going back to agile, within agile we have what is agile? Agile is a family of frameworks which are iterative and incremental in nature. So there are several frameworks in the market. Uh, Out of that, Scrum is one of it. So we have Scrum is there, XP is there, Crystal is there, Scaled Agile is there, Kanban is also there. And out of this, Scrum is the most popular one. The iterative and incremental nature of Agile, we have the master list of features to be developed from start to finish. That is, we call it as a product backlog. And we have iterations or sprints. Uh, the maximum duration of the sprints is maximum is 30 days. And you can do 15-day sprint or you can do 10-day sprint. But the duration of the sprint must be, by and large, it must be constant. And at the end of the sprint, we increment the product. So after sprint one, we come out with the basic free features. After sprint two, the product gets incremented further. Sprint three, it gets incremented even further. Sprint four, it gets incremented further. And then you make a final product and value delivery. Sometimes we make interim releases as well. Those are interim releases. After two sprints, we may release something to the client, but maybe in this scenario, after four sprints, we are delivering the final product to the client. So that is the essence of iterative and incremental nature of agile. Here, if we can understand one concept called a minimum viable product, uh, that will be that'll be better, because we may not try to deliver the full-fledged product in the first go. Our focus will be to deliver a minimum viable product to the client so that the client can start using it. For example, if you take a mobile phone, what is a minimum viable product? The user should be able to make a call. The user should be able to receive a call. The user should be able to send a message, receive a message. The user should be able to make UPI payments. That is good enough. It need not have a touch screen, etc. So this much, if you can deliver to the client very quickly, the client can start using it. And then over a period of time, we can make it smarter and smarter and smarter. So always we go with the minimum viable product in mind, deliver it as fast as possible, which will result in faster return on investment or ROI to the customer. Now, how do we really choose the project strategy or the project framework? Because if you go to a client who doesn't know the requirements very clearly, and if you apply waterfall, the project is bound to fail, or at least uh, we will generate customer dissatisfaction, because whenever we ask for a change, we say no because the model is waterfall and maybe fixed price. So for projects where technology familiarity is very low and the scope clarity is also very low, then it is better to go with that is a clean case of agile. Technology clarity low, scope clarity low, clean agile. These days, most of the AI projects will or can fall into this particular category. So AI, we will never get it right in the first go. It has to be iterated. It has a learning curve. So agile is the right method for AI projects. Then if you have the technology familiarity is very high, and if the scope clarity is also very high, and if the difficulty in making changes is also very high, uh, then it is better to go with predictive or waterfall. So if you take a construction project, the construction phase of a construction project, it is better to go with predictive because agile will fail. But maybe design phase of a construction project, we can try agile or hybrid. As we discussed earlier, hybrid is a mix of both agile and predictive. So if the technology familiarity is high and the scope clarity is low, that is a good candidate for hybrid or agile slash hybrid. And here, if the scope clarity is very high and the technology clarity is low, then still hybrid will work. So this diagram will give us some guidance in picking up the framework or the strategy for project delivery and how to whether we should go with waterfall or whether we should go with pure agile or whether we should go with hybrid. Here, one more parameter to be considered here is the difficulty to change. Because during the construction phase of a construction project, it's very difficult to change things. After pouring concrete, it is very difficult. So it's always only predictive or traditional will work. But if you take the engineering phase of a project or the design phase of a project, now we have tools like building information modeling and document management system. So change becomes very, very easy during the early phases of even a construction project. There we can always look for opportunities for agile slash hybrid. And even in during the construction phase of a project, now now let us say we have the snag list. So before we reaching the major milestone, a lot of snags to be closed. Maybe for that we can use maybe a hybrid because we can have a master list of things to be closed, and then we can have the daily meeting, daily stand-up meeting to evaluate progress, etc. And this will work for shutdown projects as well. To a great extent, hybrid is the right thing. So we'll have a separate video on project strategy, the project management strategy, because n number of a lot of strategic thinking is required to come out with the right management and execution strategy for projects. If our strategy is wrong, the project will fail. Agile framework by popularity. This diagram is very useful. So Scrum is the most popular one because it has around 66 percentage penetration rate among the or adoption rate among the Scrum frameworks. Then we have Kanban, so 24 percentage, and extreme programming 10 percentage, because that is more technology specific. XP will work for IT projects, is very IT specific, whereas Scrum and Kanban, they are more of a generic, they are domain independent. Scrum started with IT, but now it has spread into other domains as well, thanks to work from home, etc. Because Scrum is a great model to manage distributed work. Then we have lean. It is there for a long time. We were talking about it. I have not experienced it. Uh, so 8%. Then safe is there. Scaled agile. So if you are looking for an enterprise-wide implementation of agile, safe is a good framework. But again, good for technology projects. Then dynamic software development methodology, DSDM, only 5% adoption rates. Crystal is there. Then feature driven development, FDD is there, only 3% adoption rate. And less is there. This is for Scrum. It is by scrum.org. Large scale Scrum. Uh, the adoption rate is very low, 2%. But like Scrum, this is also very lightweight, so easy to understand, easy to roll out. Then we have Nexus, scalable Scrum framework for multiple Scrum teams working together. So adoption rate is only 1%. So Scrum is the most popular one. So uh, in the subsequent sessions, instead of talking a little bit about different models, we will dwell deep into Scrum framework, and using Scrum, we will try to understand all the nitty-gritties of agile projects in the subsequent sessions. Key reasons for the popularity of Scrum framework: simple and easy to understand, delivers value early and often, and adaptive and flexible, enhances transparency, improves team collaboration, emphasizes continuous improvement, and it is a highly scalable and strong community and support. There's a large user base, so there is a large community. Scrum is so simple, hence there is nothing to uh, tailor, because to give you an idea, it has only three roles. That is a product owner, the scrum master, and the development team. There are no other titles. Product owner manages the product backlog. Scrum Master ensures that the whole project happens according to Scrum, and the development team just build the product. So within the development team, we may have people with testing skills, people with architecting skills, people with coding, different skill set. People will be there, but there are no different titles. Everybody is known as a Scrum team. So only three roles: product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team. Then the number of ceremonies are also very limited. We have the sprint planning meeting, which happens prior to every sprint. Then we have the daily stand-up meeting. Then we have the sprinting, then the sprint review meeting, and the sprint retrospective meetings. These are the ceremonies. And what are the artifacts? We have the product backlog, and then we have the sprint backlog, which is the subset of the product backlog, which we will be scheduling in the current sprint. So the sprint backlog is an output of the sprint planning meeting. So we have the product backlog, sprint backlog. Uh, that's it. And we have the product increment, which comes out at the end of the project. So product backlog, sprint backlog, and the product increment. So these are the artifacts. So it's so simple. Hence, there is nothing to customize. So either you follow Scrum or you don't follow Scrum. There is no partial implementation of Scrum. Uh, Types of projects suitable for Scrum, because very often people tend to think that because the Scrum framework is very simple, it can handle only simple projects. That is not the case. So Scrum can handle complex, uncertain projects, projects with changing requirements, and the products or services that need innovation and customer-centric projects. Time to market is where projects where time to market is very important, and projects with a high business value. So one of the key advantages of Scrum is it gives absolute transparency to all stakeholders. So the summary, see, I'm not going in depth into Scrum now. For that, we will have a separate video lesson. Now, the summary, we discussed about what is Agile. We said it is a collection of frameworks like Scrum, XP, feature-driven development, Crystal, etc. And all these models are iterative and incremental. And we saw the agile frameworks by popularity, and in that Scrum leads and followed by Kanban. And we discussed about the reasons for popularity of Scrum, and we also discussed about projects suitable for Scrum. And we had another slide on a guideline for choosing the model. We said technology is change. Technology is new to the team, and the scope is also changing or not clear. That is a good candidate for agile. And if the technology is very familiar and the scope is also very familiar, and the difficulty to incorporate changes, if it is difficult, if it is high, then it is better to go with waterfall or traditional. And in between, technology is well known, but scope is dynamic, maybe hybrid. Or scope is well known, but technology is very new, hybrid. And hybrid is a tailored version of both waterfall and agile. We tailor it, we mix it up, we pick and choose. So thank you. This was the discussion, and the detailed Scrum we will have another video lesson, and detailed project strategy. That is a good topic. There's quite a lot to discuss about project strategy, uh, because the right strategy can save your project. But if your strategy is wrong, then you had it. So there will be a separate session on strategy, separate video lesson on detailed Scrum. So I think this video gave you a good value. Please give your comments at the bottom of this video. And for more information, you can visit our PM Digital Guide. The link to that is given in the description of the video. And if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe, and you will get more value from our channel. Thank you.